Good morning, this is Mike Doe, part of the applications team, and I am here with my good friend, John LeDrew.
Morning.
We also have Scott Stingle. Scott, pop your head around so everybody can see you.
Hello, everyone.
He's not, there's his hand. Scott, one of my other good buddies, and Nate is our VJ today, video jockey.
Couldn't do it without him.
We couldn't, could we?
No.
So here's Johnny, and here's Mike. So we're going to talk today about a couple things. First thing is we're going to talk about Carhartt jackets. Crazy Carhartt jackets.
That's my personal Carhartt.
Is this your personal Carhartt?
It is.
That's why it's got like little puffy hairs on it or something?
A little dusty.
So, you know, a lot of people have a hard time hooping these jackets, and these jackets are pretty popular this time of year because it's cold outside. They don't really get popular in the summertime because who the heck would wear it in the summer?
Captain Obvious.
Captain Obvious, that's me. So, you know, taking a regular hoop, like the hoops that come with your machine, not the greatest thing to try to hoop your jacket with. I used to have to do this when I ran my shop. We didn't have the great mighty hoops that, you know, Midwest Products has come out with. These are a godsend when doing heavy jackets or heavy blankets. You can do jackets with this. If this is the only thing you have, you can take and loosen the screw up quite a bit and actually get it to hold. Once you have the hoop on, then you can tighten that screw back up and make it work. It's really tough. If you're going to do any kind of quantity of these, I would suggest that you jump on Shop Melco and look at the Mighty Hoops. We're going to show you how those work. But you can get away with doing them with regular hoops. I don't want you to think that you can't. It's just really, really tough. Another question that I get all the time, and by the way, if you have questions or suggestions on how to do heavy jackets like Carhartt's or duck canvas jackets, please post them. Scott will read them off to us. We'll repeat them and answer your questions if possible. The other question I get a lot is do I need to use backing when sewing Carhartt jackets? The answer to that is no, you don't have to use backing on Carhartt jackets because where we need backing typically is when the garment itself has some kind of stretch, either in one direction or in multiple directions. We need that stability from the backing to keep that material in place as we're embroidering around so that the material doesn't have a tendency to stretch and give us kind of that bunching or pooching or what are other words that people call that?
Puckering.
Puckering is another great word that people use. So we don't have to use it.
I got a good one. Fried bologna.
Fried bologna. Scott said fried bologna is another good one. I've never heard that one.
No.
Who fries bologna?
Well, that's the way that thing.
That's
Is that a thing?
Yeah,
Totally a thing.
it's an American.
Is it?
It's American, very American.
Wow. Okay. But I got to tell you, I do use backing. I do use backing on these jackets. And the reason I do is if I screw up, if I have the design hooped upside down or I have the wrong design loaded and I stop it, with the backing I can take and flip the jacket inside out. I can use my Peggy stitch eraser or something like that, and I can take and pull the stitches out against the backing. The backing is actually going to help me not destroy the lining of the jacket when that happens. So I always use backing. I try to use, this has got a black lining. I would use a black cutaway for this, and then I would cut real nice and close without cutting the lining. I cut real nice and close once it's done. Okay? Any questions to this point, Scott?
No, we're good.
Okay. So another thing that a lot of folks ask is, do I need to have the Hoopmaster fixture for these? The answer to that is no. You don't have to have it. You can take and hoop against a table if you want to. But for really good placement or ease, like if you were going to do, 20 or 30 of these, it can get pretty time consuming to get the position right based on a table, where if you had the Hoopmaster product to be able to pull it onto, makes it much easier, makes it more consistent. So that's where I would get that. Once again, you can find those Hoopmaster products on our Shop Melco website. There's a lot of great stuff on Shop Melco. Hoopmaster, by the way, and Mighty Hoop, same company. Midwest Products makes both of those. Some people get confused about that, but they're both made by Midwest Products. Great guys up there. Shout out to Jesse. So what we're going to do is I would use something like this for a left chest. I don't know, does this jacket have the little cell phone zipper in the front?
I believe so. In the inside?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
So if I had, sometimes you'll find on the left chest of these guys, they'll have a zipper that you can unzip. I would try to get inside to sew that instead of sewing the pocket shut. This is if you've got that zipper, it's a really good place where you can use the Melco fast clamp to actually get in there and hoop and then turn the design sideways. And there's a picture of it, just went by. You can hoop the, or take the design in OS and turn it sideways so that it's right side up. That works out really well. Once again, I would stick a piece of backing there. I don't need to, I don't have to, because the material is stable. But if I, being a human, screw up quite a bit, if I need to remove that stitch, I can use that backing to cut against. Okay? So let's get to the meat of it. I'm going to use this big dog. And which size did we get today, Scott?
16 by 13?
Yep, so we've got the 16 by 13. And you might be looking at this going, wow, that's big. Yeah, it is. We also, when we're using this, we need to make sure that we're using the oversized hoop arms. So the machine comes with hoop arms that look like this, and there's another set of them, once again, on Shop Melco, and maybe we can get those part numbers and post them for both this 13 by 6 or 16 by 13, as well as these oversized hoop arms. And there you can see both of them. You can see how far out these guys come. We need those because of the size of this hoop, and I'll show that to you here in a minute when we put it on. So let me put this hoop down, and let's take this guy apart. When I'm hooping, I like to put, especially if it's a big one, I put it around my neck because, oh, not the mic? Oh, sorry. I just got told by Nate that that's a bad idea with the mic. Sorry if you got a high-pitched feedback from that. But anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to take and lay our jacket out. And all I'm doing is just taking and positioning that and making sure that I've got everything the way that I want it. Thank you, sir. Yep. On this jacket, I could take and hoop it upside down or right side up. I'll keep it right side up so I don't have to remember how to flip it. The reason I would do that is because I can unzip this guy and I can tuck the hood into the bucket of the machine. So I'm going to just take this guy with the magic of magnets and just press it down, and I've got this nice and hooped. I can also take and just kind of pull it tight. Now, in some cases, and you can see this guy is hooped now, in some cases I've seen on Facebook where the jacket may have even a heavier lining and the magnets don't have enough strength to hold that together. I've actually seen where people have used these types of clamps and have clamped the corners, so they do something like this on either side. And Scott brought these in from his woodworking shop today. Thank you, Scott. This would be just fine. What my only concern about this and the things that I would throw out to you is make sure that this isn't going to do any damage to the machine. And the other thing is that when you do that, it pulls the material back into itself, and you definitely don't want to sew the material to itself with the hoop in the middle. I don't know how many times I've accidentally done that. When I push the garment onto the machine, I forget to check to make sure it's under the lower arm. But those are the only two concerns I have when using these clamps. These guys, I think you could probably pick up at like a hardware store like Home Depot, Lowe's, Harbor Freight, cheap. Don't like the smell there, but I like the product.
I like the pony ones, so I pay a little more for
Oh, you do?
They're better, yeah.
Okay, so great thoughts. Once we have that hooped, all I'm going to do is bring this over. I like to close the grabber with something big like this, and then I'm going to take and just pull on this hood, And this is when it helps to have a stomach because I can use it to hold things. So it's not always the best thing to have, but hey, it came in handy right there. So then I'm going to just reach up under there, and it might be kind of hard to see this, but I'm going to just tuck that hood up into the bucket to make sure that it doesn't come back into my my line of embroidery. So you can see how those extended arms help me. Couple things to keep in mind when doing heavy products like this. Back in these back corners, and you can see where my hand is right now, you want to make sure that the jacket itself is not bound in those corners, because what will happen is when you do a trace or when the machine is sewing, here's the lower arm, right? And here's that material. When the hoop comes around to the arm, it'll actually cause a bind, and you'll get an X tracking error sometimes. And people will go, well, what the heck happened? It stopped right in the middle of my design. Well, it's because you didn't look to make sure that that garment wasn't going to cause a physical bind. So make sure that you check those corners after putting the hoop on there. So real easy, simple. Mighty hoops are the way to go if you're going to do any kind of quantity of Carhartt jackets. Check those out on Shop Melco. And yeah, that's how you do that hooping.
So David has a good comment. How many times have we done this? Best tip for Mighty Hoop jacket backs is put it around your neck, right? When you're hooping?
Yeah.
Haven't you done that? Like,
Yeah, that's, other than having the microphone in the way, like I was told by Nate, any of my large hoops, I typically, if you come see me at a trade show and I'm hooping, I put that around my neck because it seems like every time I look around to find it, I forget where it's at. If it's around my neck, I know where it's at. So yeah, that's it.
So are you going to embroider on that?
I am.
Are you going to use any twill?
I'm gonna use some twill. Yeah.
That's convenient because we have some twill here at the office.
Oh wow.
Is it any of these rolls, any of these colors that you've spent so much money on to get these big rolls of twill in your design?
Well, you know, none of those colors are right, John.
It's none of these colors?
None of those colors.
Man, what a pain. So what are you going to have to do?
Well, I'm going to have to get online and order some from, you know, either Stalls or Tex. What's the other place called? Imprintable's Warehouse.
So do you need like 100 feet of Plum Crazy Purple?
I need Plum Crazy Purple, but I don't need 100 yards of it.
You only need like a couple jackets, right?
Right, yeah.
So there's no sense in ordering a large roll.
So what can I do about that, John?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Mike. We have just the solution for you. So the trick here is, let's get all this out of the way.
Yep.
And what do you say, Mike, we reduce our twill load to just one roll?
So you're saying...
How nice would it be to be able to do
I don't
any
have to
color?
carry all that, I can just
You
carry
don't.
white?
All you need is just one roll, and you can make any color you want. What if I told you you could do that? What would you think?
I would be pretty impressed.
This is really sounding like an infomercial. It is. I'm like, we're on, what is that show? The Shoppers...
not TLC,
No.
What is it? Someone out there tell us what that show is where you can buy stuff online.
Home Shoppers Network or something?
HSN?
QVC. This is,
wow. Scott wins the award.
QVC. Hashtag QVC. Any doodles. So we can do, with dye sublimation, Mike, we can create any color we want on white twill. And you don't need to order a big roll of it and have it just sitting around. So you can reduce your cost, you can increase your flexibility on what you use for twill.
Yep.
And you know, another cool thing, is there any gradients in this design?
You know, I was hoping to, but I didn't want to lay down 3 or 4 layers of twill to get that gradient.
or try to do all that with thread. It'd be tricky, right?
It would just be too many stitches.
It would. But with dye sublimation, Mike, we can create that gradient and apply it to the twill ourselves. So let me show you how that's done. So this is the Epson F6370 dye sublimation printer. It's a 44-inch printer. Epson makes a number of different printers. I want to show you those really quickly. Here on Shop Melco. By the way, you can purchase your hoops. Go ahead to your embroidery machine, and if you have or Mighty hoops you want to see, just simply click on the Mighty hoop. You can order all your Mighty hoops and everything from here. Our internet's a little bit slow in this room, so bear with me. But let's just move beyond that and go to the printer section. So on Shop Melco, you can move down. Here's our direct-to-garment printer, dye sublimation printers. We have rolling printers, cutters. Here we're going to focus on the dye sublimation printer. So the Epson dye sub printer, there's a number of different printers from Epson, and I want to kind of show you these briefly. There's the 44-inch, which is more for larger volume if you're doing a lot of trophies and decals and a number of other things where you might need 44 inches. This printer is going to be super fast, really versatile. You can do a ton of twill. You don't have to worry necessarily about space. Looking at the printers here, we have this is the one we have right here, the standard editions for $74.95. That includes free delivery. We charge you a little bit for on-site installation, but it's not much. It comes with everything you need. And if you're just getting started and you want to do something a little bit less, you can buy a 24-inch printer from Epson. This one sits right on the desktop. It's the F570 and it's $2,500. Again, it comes with everything you need, ink, transfer paper, and everything, and then you're off and running. You can start making this twill type stuff with a small investment like that. So if you're doing a lot of twill, this might be something to consider. But don't just stop with twill with dye sublimation. You can do trophies, you can do t-shirts, you can do lanyards, you can do name tags.
Right, that metal art that you showed me the other day is great.
Those metal, the metal picture pieces called chloroplast? No.
Yeah, all I know is I see them
Something's got a good
online
name.
and they're like $150 to get my family portrait
Yeah,
put
and
on
your
one of
cost
those.
on that is only maybe $15.
Wow.
So pretty outstanding, high
Yep.
margins there. So with twill, the way this stuff works is really we're just using a polyester twill. This is white polyester twill that you would order just like any other roll, but you're ordering just one. Send your design to the software for the Epson. In this case, I've already sent it, and it's already printed. Now I'm just gonna have it cut this sheet. Once it cuts this sheet, I'm gonna show you how we can put this twill, this gradient image onto this twill, heat press it down, and then you can cut it out and apply it however you need for your fancy design there.
So question on the twill side, John. This has already got the heat applicable adhesive on the back, and
Right,
so we
you
can
need that.
press it,
Yes.
and that still works.
Yeah, it will work.
Wow, that's great.
The cool thing is it's a quick application. You don't really need to heat press it for very long, so it doesn't really mess with that adhesive.
Okay.
So here's my sheet of 16 by 20, which is the size of my heat press that I'm going to put on this twill piece. We simply cut out what we want to use.
And the colors look pretty dull, John. Are they going to get brighter on this?
Oh,
or?
yeah.
Okay.
So the reason they look dull is because it's printed on this transfer paper. The heat applies the transfer to the material. So it doesn't really pop until you apply heat.
Gotcha.
And you'll see the difference in vibrancy. Mike, I have a feeling your mind's going to be blown.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Well, I know so. Let's put it that way. So here's our roll of twill. All I need to do is cut out a sheet that's about the same size as our paper here. I'm just going to cut this. And then there's a few different ways to make this stuff. You can stick this down to the twill. Typically, you'll find a lot of people who do a lot of dye sublimation use heat sense or heat tape, basically it's called.
Okay.
And the reason they use that is so it doesn't leave a residue.
Ah, okay.
In this case, it doesn't really. We're using blue painter's tape. Convenient thing about this is it doesn't leave
Residue? And it's cheaper, I'll bet.
and it's cheaper.
Ah.
I'll bet you it is too.
That's nice.
So we're gonna go ahead and just put our twill right down on top of our piece of paper here, and I'm going to just kind of line it up right in the middle a little bit. I'm gonna take my tape, and the reason I want to tape it down is because I don't want it shifting at all when I put it on the heat press.
So when the clamp comes down, you don't
Yeah.
want that moving.
No, that would be bad. We call that ghosting, Mike.
Oh, so it'll actually
Yeah.
smear the design
Yeah,
or
it'll
the
actually
image?
shift a little bit.
Okay, we don't want that.
No, and that's why you need the tape.
Okay.
Yeah. So
But blue painter's tape will work.
it does. You know why?
Why? Because you tell me?
Because it doesn't leave any. Yeah.
Oh.
Scott's over there. He knows.
Yeah, Scott is the man when he
He
knows
is the man.
when it
Okay,
comes to that
so
stuff.
the other thing with dye sublimation, the thing that is required with dye sublimation, if you don't have a good heat press, you're going to run into some issues. So one thing to consider with heat presses and dye sublimation The printers are going to do pretty much a good job. Epson's outstanding because they're extremely reliable. They have great service. They have great warranty. They're fast.
Yeah.
They don't break down. They don't require a lot of maintenance. The thing with heat presses are you have to have a consistent heating element from edge to edge. Some heat presses are better than others. If you don't have a good quality heat press, you're not going to get a good sublimation.
So you might get like splotches or something.
Yeah, you'll get splotches. You won't get that consistency, and we want consistency in our image.
Absolutely.
So this twill, in fact, is done primarily with dye sublimation.
Wow.
So this twill is sublimated, and then everything is made with it. So these are done on big dye sublimators, or big dye sub printers like this or bigger, and then they put it in a big roll.
Heat press?
Yeah, a heat press that has, it's called a calendar press, and it's oil heated, and it'll heat this giant roll, and then they just cut these rolls as needed. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's pretty interesting.
So they're doing that, and then they're just charging you a premium, and they're charging you by the yard or something.
It's by the yard, yeah.
So,
well, and if you stop and think about it, schools alone, just around Melco here, within 5 miles, we have approximately 40 schools, between middle schools to high schools to community colleges. And so to stock all the colors of those schools would be nuts. So if you're doing any kind of twill at all, infomercial aside and the cheesiness aside, I am in love with the idea of only carrying white twill and dye subbing that twill. I think it's a great combination if you do anything with twill at all, because it cuts down on the inventory or the fact that you may or may not be able to fill a job if you don't have the right color.
Yeah. So we have this gradient, but let's do just a single color.
Okay.
While this heat press heats up, should only take another minute. So here's that plum crazy purple you needed.
Oh, that is it?
Yep. And here's that crazy candy green.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and just cut out a piece of plum crazy purple.
In the meantime, Scott, do we have any questions? Okay. You know what I'd like is if you guys could post comments on who out there is doing twill work right now. Either it be applique work for Greek lettering, if you're doing numbers or name tapes for jerseys, be it, I think we're probably going in the basketball season, maybe wrestling. I think wrestling's usually all digital transfer stuff. But yeah, if you're doing any of that, post a comment, let us know what you're doing. That would be great. So this is that plum crazy purple.
Yeah, so some of these obscure colors, and Scott likes to talk about customers requiring PMS matches, right?
Yep.
So you can do a pretty doggone good match here with these Epson printers. You're not going to get necessarily 100%, but you're going to get doggone close. So if you use Photoshop or Illustrator, you can choose the the RGB color code that matches the PMS color, and these are gonna hit it pretty good. One thing about dye sublimation is if you get the color codes right, you can sublimate it and get pretty accurate colors, which is nice, and that really allows you to do a lot of those licensed jobs, right?
Yeah.
And when we were doing, so my background is coming primarily from licenses, so I was doing a lot of professional sports, and we had to do a lot of twill work on jerseys and cheerleader uniforms and all sorts of different
Like
things.
stuff that would be on national TV, so it's got to be dead on.
Yeah, and those guys don't mess around. They want their colors right.
Right, yep.
So, we struggled to find sometimes the correct color twill, or we had to have it custom made. It'd have been nice to just be able to do it in-house. Dye sublimation was around at the time, but you know what? No one told me about it, or I didn't know really how to use it. So that's why we want to kind of relay this info to you. It doesn't cost a lot to get involved in it, and it gives you exactly what you want. So we have 80 degrees more to go.
Okay. Well, I've got a couple questions for you. So
Okay.
let's walk through this whole process for the audience. Dye sub twill sounds great, but how do I actually get the cutouts that I need for my embroidery applique going on my jacket? I mean, I see how I get the color now,
Right.
but how do I get those cuts?
So you have a piece of colored twill, and your question is, I have to get a number in there,
Correct.
and I want to embroider that number on my jacket. How do I do that?
Yep.
Well, just because it's this size twill doesn't mean it makes it any more difficult to get that number like you would on your sheet of twill. So
Right.
however you're cutting your twill now, you can just feed this into your cutter, and do it the same way. So typically what we do here at Melco is we use VersaWorks software from Roland. We use a Roland cutter, a 60-degree blade, which is key, right? And then we just make that path, that cut path like you normally would, and feed your sheet of twill and then allow it to cut. You do this a lot more than I do. What are some of the things that you have to do to make sure it's right?
Yeah, so like John said, we use the VersaWorks software and the Roland GS24. I believe it's a GS, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the GS24.
GS24, and that's also on Shop Melco.
Yeah, I'll show you that while you talk.
What you can do is if you create your applique design in Design Shop, you can actually take the cut line, or what's called the locator stitch. You can take and copy that out of Design Shop. So just do a select copy and then go into VersaWorks and do a paste. And this is the GS24 right here. But that will take it and it'll convert it into a cut line into VersaWorks. Then you just take this colorized twill, you load it into your GS24, which we don't have the GS24 in. We ran out of space.
Pretty packed in here.
It is, especially with me. I apologize. I need to lose some weight. That's going to be my New Year's resolution. Anyways, I put this in. By the way, your hair's looking great today.
Well, I thank you very much, Mike. Yours is as well. Extra shiny.
Thank you.
Pantene Pro V?
Yes,
nice.
Indeed. I gave up the Rogaine. It wasn't working for me. So, anyways, happy holidays. Anyways, you load this into your GS24. And literally, you just press the cut file or cut, and it cuts the material. You weed out the excess. Then you go over to your machine on and we're not going to have time to do it today, but you would put the locator stitch down onto the jacket. You place your twill pieces that have been colorized, custom colorized for us, and we're off to the races.
And this has a little bit of tackiness, so it sticks.
It sticks, and then what's really cool is I like this material because after you're done with the embroidery process, you can take it back to your heat press at the correct temperature, and you can get this twill wherever the stitches aren't. It will take and adhere to the garment, so when you launder it, you don't have those ripples or fried bologna look.
That'd be more like bacon, I think.
Or bacon?
Yeah, bacony.
I like bacon a lot better than bologna. Obviously I do. Hey-o. Anyways, this is a great process. I want to throw a plug out in January. I think it's January 17th, 18th and 19th. We'll be at the Impressions Show in Long Beach. We have a really cool booth this year. Quite a bit of mixed media going on. One of them being using twill that's die subbed from the Epson products. So swing by, come to the show. God bless you. I think that the Long Beach show is probably one of my most favorite shows of the year.
Do you know anyone who's speaking at that show, Mike?
I think you are, John, aren't you?
Get out of here.
I think they were so desperate they asked me to talk too.
Other way around, I think.
Yeah. John is doing one on direct-to-garment, I think?
Yeah, so my show, while we just wait for this to heat up, we only have a few more degrees to go. We'll kind of waste some time here.
I got a question.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Travis is asking, how do you deal with the twill shrinking when you sublimate it? Every time I try sublimating and cutting, the registration is off due to the twill shrinking.
So Travis, the question is, Travis is dealing with some shrinkage issues when doing the die sub process of the twill. Travis, I'm going to throw out an educated guess and say that you're using just the twill material and not the twill that has the adhesive backing on it, as well as the cover with that. I would suggest using that material that's got the adhesive backing on it, because the plain twill, when it heats, it doesn't have anything kind of like backing, like we were talking stabilizer. The material on the back of this acts as a stabilizer and reduces that ability or that shrinkage. So that's what I would suggest doing. The other thing is if that doesn't handle it and you're still getting a little bit of shrinkage, it's going to be consistent. That shrinkage is going to be consistent. So build that shrinkage in either on the cut file that you do on the Roland side or the shrinkage on the embroidery side. build that in so that you work it. Never think, God bless you, never think that you're going to take the first one and do it on, you know, a $75 jacket. Always practice on something maybe you get from Goodwill or something like that.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say.
Using the adhesive Twill.
Okay, well then I have a suggestion that might be the solution. Find consistency in your heating and your time. So if, for example, your heat press is not necessarily up to temperature, say you're trying it at 400 and then you have it set to 420 and there's maybe a little bit of variation. So you want a heat press that's going to be really consistent with heat. And additionally, you shouldn't have to do it for more than 25 or 30 seconds. If you're doing it for more than that, you either need to increase the heat or increase your pressure. So pressure and time consistency should help potentially reduce that. I don't know, how long are you heat pressing it for? That could be part of the issue. Yeah.
One lady says, is it Gina? How about all kinds of patterns and plaids, animals, florals?
Yeah.
No limit.
No limit on this. In fact, so much so that I don't know how many of you guys have watched, like the Oregon Ducks is probably the biggest one, and they always have different jersey. The numbers have like freaky colors in them, and all that stuff is dye subbed.
Freaky colors like plum crazy purple?
Like plum crazy purple.
Not in Oregon.
Yeah. But anyways, back to one thing, and keep those questions coming, but you're doing a seminar on DTG. Get back to that and tell me about that.
Right. So it's really how to be successful with direct-to-garment. So if you follow a few different things that I've learned over my years, the years in this business, and I've put together, we really can almost guarantee success with direct-to-garment if you kind of follow these few steps. So I think it's going to be valuable in that sense if you're either one already in direct-to-garment and you need just a little bit of a incentive to try to figure out how to make a little bit extra money, or two, are just getting into it. It's going to be a valuable class. And frankly, if I had the time, I would have a direct-to-garment business. And if I followed, we have some customers even that just follow one of these steps and are extremely successful onto their second machine. So if you commit the time and you can be creative, and that's one thing I like about this industry, Mike, is how creative we all are.
Yeah. We
don't just get into this and not have any creative juices. We always get into it in a way that seems like we have a need, and we try to go find that need, and we can't really get it done, so then we end up doing it ourselves. And that's how. So take pride in that, but also learn. There's a lot to be learned from some people who've had this experience. What's your class on?
I'm doing patches. So how to do patches. So check it out. It'll be about one-offs to thousands of the same patch. Would love to see you in both of our classes.
Yeah. And we have free passes for the show.
Yes.
We do.
Yeah.
So you can find free passes on my website, prodtg.com. It's not on there yet, but I just got the notification, so I'll have a free pass up there for y'all if you want that.
Yeah. Or reach out to your salesperson. Yeah, they can help you
or
with
just
that.
call Melco. I mean, we can email you a copy of that.
And there's nothing nicer than Long Beach in the winter time. When you're from Denver or Minnesota or Wisconsin.
Yeah, we got some people from Alaska coming down.
Alaska, yeah.
Make a whole thing out of it.
It's a very nice place in the wintertime.
Are
we ready?
Yeah, we're about there.
Okay.
We're about there. We're 407. I'd like it to be around 420, but I don't think it'll matter. And so I find, like, again, we're talking about consistency. That really is what's most important here. But I don't have a cover on my heating element. Normally I would. I want to try to reduce anything that could potentially throw off that consistency of the heating element. Having a cover on your platen is not a big deal. Did our guy get back to us on?
Yeah, Travis says, I'm also using a laser to cut it out. I started cutting before sublimating.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And 45 seconds is what else he said.
45 might be a little too long, right?
Yeah, I would go 30. I mean, but if 45 is working for you, and I always tell people this, each environment is unique. Your production environment is unique. It's different than mine. Atmosphere is different. There's other things going on. Your heating element, your heat presses may be different than mine. So there's a number of things. So one thing I would recommend is maybe increase your heat a little bit, increase your pressure a little bit, and that way you can reduce your time. Reducing your time will reduce the potential.
No, but that idea that he has about lasering at first, you could do that if you have a cutter instead of a laser. You could actually cut this twill before you actually do the dye sub.
Yeah.
So that process could be mixed back and forth. That's a great idea, Travis.
We actually sell lasers too, Mike. Did you know that?
We do?
Yeah.
What kind of lasers do we sell?
Rolling lasers.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, You know how I feel about Rollins.
You're
I
a
love
big fan.
rolling.
Big fan.
Big fan of rolling.
Isn't Travis from Alaska?
Travis, let us know. Are you from Alaska? We think you're the Alaska Travis.
If you are, you should come to Long Beach, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Get some sun.
This, you know, like
It could.
the temperature.
Yeah, variations in temperature, it could certainly be affected.
Below outside.
Yeah. 50 below and dark. Okay, so.
Is it dark in the winter and light in the summer? Is that
All right, we're at 415. I'm comfortable with that temperature. I have it set for 35 degrees. I'm not going to do anything special.
35 seconds?
Seconds.
Okay.
400
Degrees.
degrees, yeah. 35 or 30 seconds, I'm not sure. So I'm just putting it on my platen. This is my 16 by 20 platen. One thing I want to say is you can get bigger platens. You're not limited to a 16 by 20 piece of twill. You can go as big as 20 by 25 for a clamshell, or you can go by 3.5 meters for a double clamshell. They get more expensive. Or you can go those big calendar oil heated drums, which work great. So anyway, let's have some fun.
Cool. Man, I can't wait to see this plum crazy
So 30
purple.
seconds. This is plum crazy purple.
All right.
Yep.
Any other questions? Travis is in Alaska.
Yes, yes.
Travis, I think you're the guy that came down and said, Mike, if you ever get up to Alaska, I'll take you fishing.
Hey,
I have not taken you
Travis?
up on that. No, he talked to me, John. No. John, obviously, with the fish on his shirt, I don't know if you can see that. He's a
Yeah.
great fisherman as well.
I am a great fisherman, primarily
Fishing stories, or?
yeah. All right, so here we are. Oh. You know what the problem with that one was?
Not enough pressure?
Not enough temperature, buddy.
Nope.
So here's a good example of not enough temperature, or not enough inconsistent temperature. That doesn't look so plum and crazy, does it?
No, it looks
That looks
crazy.
really- yeah.
Tie-dye plum.
But we don't want that, right?
No, we want it to be solid.
So this is a great example of a mistake.
Okay.
Mike. A mistake was made.
Mistake was made. Let's try it again.
Yeah, let's try it again. So we have no, I mean,
Luckily, we only have white twill, so we can work with it.
really no cost loss. I mean,
Yeah.
very minimal. This sheet costs us maybe 15 cents.
Yeah.
Not even. 5 cents.
And that's about $1.75 in twill.
So otherwise, everything will still work. Our adhesive backing will still work, so that's not a problem. We have a little bit of inconsistency in heat, but we have a backup here. We're just going to try this one now. And we're up to 422, which I like.
And I would put the paper up.
Oh, that was the problem. I put it upside down.
Yeah. So you put it upside down. I didn't want to tell the expert how to do his job, but paper up.
Travis says 3.5 hours of sun a day is what they get now.
Wow.
Hey,
Summer's coming, Travis,
bikini weather, buddy.
or Long
All
Beach
right.
is coming.
All right, so obviously that was a big issue, big problem. So what did I do wrong, Mike? Let's show them real quick.
Yep.
So I had my paper down. I put the paper side down on the platen,
Which is going
instead
to be
of paper side up.
Why would that be a problem?
Because we're dye sublimating the paper onto the twill, not the twill onto the paper.
And we want that heat to hit that paper.
Yes, foolish.
It's not going to go through that plastic.
Yeah, we should set up another plum crazy purple one.
I'll work on that while you do that.
All right. So here we go. It wasn't a temperature problem. It wasn't a heating element problem. It wasn't a pressure problem.
It was a John LeDrew problem.
It was a user problem. That happens. I'm not afraid to admit it.
I make mistakes too, my friend.
All right, so here we are. This one's at 45 seconds. I had two settings. One because I was doing those metal signs, so I have a 45-second temperature setting, and then I have a 30-second temperature setting. I'll just pop this at 15 seconds because I think 30 will be plenty. But I want you to see how bright and vibrant this plum crazy purple gets. So we'll do both of these.
He says,
Paper
"Come
side
on
down."
up and I'll take you guys fishing and we'll trade for you installing a new DTG. Sound good?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Travis, you're on, buddy.
Yeah. I get a hankering for some salmon fishing.
Ooh,
I can
man.
tell you what. I come from Washington State. I was there for the last 5 years, and that's good fishing, but
Not as
not
good as
like Alaska fishing.
The last frontier, is that what they call it?
Well, that's what I've heard it called.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just going to give this a quick second to cool for my own fingers purposes. But
Wow.
Look at that.
Look at that.
we nailed it, buddy.
Woohoo!
Here we go.
So I wasn't worried that we weren't going to, frankly, because I know it's going to work. Once you get it right, you get it right.
Look
So-
how bright those colors are. Is that, tell us online, can you guys see these bright colors?
All right,
Comment on the colors.
And then I want to show you what it looked like on paper.
Paper up.
just so you can see the difference. So here's our paper.
Oh, that's
Obviously
pretty
much
dull.
less vibrant than
That's super bright.
our Twill. So yes, patterns, bright colors, anything you really want on Twill you can make with dye sublimation. $2,500 gets you into an entry-level one that you can print 24 inches wide.
Which would be ideal for embroidery.
Paper up.
Paper up. We get a comment, Scott?
Josh is saying, still waiting on my trip. That's right.
Josh,
Up there.
Hey,
Welch, hey, he's our other buddy.
Yeah, Josh, I'm sorry, bud. You've been up to Alaska
That's
way
true.
too many times
That's
already.
true. Don't get greedy, Josh.
It's John and I's turn. Let's share the wealth a little bit here, buddy.
Greedy.
Those Wisconsins, man, you got to watch them.
Yeah, you can't trust them. They really like that cold weather, don't
And
they?
cheese and beer.
They want to get up there. So
All right.
our tackiness is still there. It's still plenty sticky. It's going to stick right to our jacket.
Yeah, let me
Once
get out of the
it's
way
cut,
here.
It's on there. It's not going to fall off. So
Very
you're
nice.
going to be able to stitch right over it, no problem. You ready for some plum crazy purple?
I
dude?
can't wait to see how bright this purple is after
Oh,
seeing
my
that. You got me really, really excited.
So, okay. This is good.
Oh, no.
This
Another
is
one?
good. Yeah. So I made the mistake of putting the Twill side up to do the heat press. You made the mistake of putting the
Plastic.
plastic
Oh.
and not the Twill side.
Well, don't do that. How'd that come out?
It actually came out pretty good.
Wow, that's bright.
Believe it or not. But all you did was twill the dye sublimated the plastic. So
You got the concept.
we basically messed up both ways that you can mess up. And by the way, this was not intentional.
Yeah, it wasn't intentional, and it's live. So
But it's just good to see, like, you know, how you can mess it. But here's the side that should have been twilled.
so we could still dye.
So learn
that
from
side.
our mistakes, you know.
Yeah.
So my dad always told me.
Yep.
And
So
look at me now.
I just want to say, from all of us here, Scott, Nate,
Yep.
John, myself, everybody at Melco, all of the sales folks, service folks, engineering, all the execs, happy holidays.
Yep.
We won't be with you next Wednesday or the following Wednesday due to Christmas and New Year's, but we really appreciate you guys. Thank you for being Melco customers. Please post comments on things you'd like to see in the future. We can't wait for 2020.
We got a lot of good things coming in 2020.
Have a wonderful day and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.